Muhami Matters with Chris Adams, powered by CJA Consulting.
Welcome to Muhami Matters, where credibility meets clarity in legal and professional services. My guest today is a special one, Shayan Khan, founder of Octotech. How do you help professionals to build a strong personal brand that aligns with their employers' values?
Your profile needs to be a landing page. When someone visits you, they have to know what you stand for. There are a few metrics that you can use to define success with the LinkedIn workshops. For most of them, it's generating leads. How many leads can you generate from being more present on LinkedIn? How many conversations can you strike? How many more people can you engage with while you're doing this, while you're building your own profile and becoming a brand ambassador?
Welcome to Muhami Matters, where credibility meets clarity in legal and professional services. I'm your host, Chris Adams, founder of Muhami and CJA Consulting. My guest today is a special one, Shayan Khan, founder of Octotech. Originally from the Netherlands, he's now based in the UAE, and Shayan works with major corporates and government bodies to help their teams become more confident, strategic voices on LinkedIn. So he's a bit different from a lot of other LinkedIn professionals you'll come across because they tend to focus a lot more on the individuals. Shayan really focuses on the corporates and particularly on employee advocacy, which is a big opportunity, I think, for many firms and many companies. And today we can explore that a bit more, find out what it looks like when it goes right, when it goes wrong, and how all professional services firms can build a culture of trust and visibility. Thank you so much for joining us today, Shayan.
Thank you, Chris. Honored to be here. Thank you for inviting.
Most welcome. So can you give us a little bit of background on yourself and what you do at Octotech?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Shayan, born and raised from the Netherlands, and moved here to the UAE like 7-8 months ago, together with my family, with my wife and my 1-year-old. And at Octotech, what we do is we really focus on building personal brands for the employees that work at a firm, but in a way that personal brands also resonates with the values for the companies they work for. So what you want in the end is that those employees become brand ambassadors, but they also don't forget their own personal brand on who they are and that they portray really themselves on LinkedIn. And that is very important.
So is that why I've heard you say that your people are your brand? What made you realize that companies are missing this kind of opportunity?
Well, the thing is, we know branding is very important, right? Every big corporate, every big company uses branding strategies, marketing strategies, hires the biggest marketing agencies to do like crazy advertisements where maybe millions of ad spend are spent, basically. But when your own people, the people that work for you, become the voice of your brand. So basically, they're the ones that are actually saying, boy, I'm working for Emirates, for example, and this company has given me so much. I want to give something back. I want to people to see what they're all about and how that has helped me in my own personal life. Well, put that out there on LinkedIn, but make sure that it does not clash completely with your own personal values as well. The chance that it will clash is very low, obviously, because otherwise you would not be working at that company if you're happy, right? But make sure that it resonates. It resonates with both the company you're working for and what you stand for. And when that happens, your own personal brand is so powerful, is so strong that it can help the company you're actually working for as well. And I realized that back in the Netherlands when I was working for some corporates where people were not using LinkedIn actually for building brands, let alone personal brands, but also just using LinkedIn besides looking for a job, which is crazy because if you look at it, LinkedIn is such a powerful platform in which so many people at least have a profile there that can see what you're posting, that can see what you're doing, and that can see the added value that you're bringing. So when I would give a training or a workshop where I would explain to employees how important LinkedIn is and how they can actually become the voice of the company that they're working for, yeah, eyes opened up. They were like, whoa, we can do that. We can do this. How do we do it, etc. Well, obviously I had the tools to help them, but yeah, it really sparks conversation and really helps both the employee and the employer with their visibility.
So what made you realize, was there a specific brand in the Netherlands you saw, or was there, from your personal experience, what made you realize that the companies are missing this opportunity?
Let me tell you about a story when I used to work at Canon. Canon is a big company, right? You would say, Chris. And
Yeah, massive. Actually, and by the by, I didn't realize they were headquartered in the Netherlands until recently.
yeah, well, Canon has a medical branch, if you didn't know. So I used to work for the medical branch. It used to be Toshiba, got taken over by Canon, and it was Canon Medical, and the European headquarters are actually in the Netherlands. And which is, yeah, you have to know that, otherwise, how would you know? But yeah, they're based in the Netherlands, and there, where I was basically hired as an online marketing specialist, digital marketing specialist, I really had to focus on also creating ambassadors, but also focus on that the outside world sees what Canon Medical is about, what they do, etc. So there were like both. There were two uh, challenges that were there for me, and I'm not saying the creating ambassadors was a bigger challenge than the other, but it was quite a challenge because you had to take everyone with you, explain to them why they should be ambassadors of the brand they're working for, and organize some workshops for them as well. Like I update your LinkedIn profiles, for example, a very simple thing. But if you're an account manager working for Canon and you meet people and they look you up on LinkedIn and your profile looks like it was created in, I don't know, 2013 when LinkedIn was just very young. Yeah, it says something, right? And people would think like, okay, are you even like, are you a professional? Are you doing something? It raises some flags. And once you can get that message across, that is very important, specifically if you're a salesperson or an account manager or whatever, where you meet a lot of prospects, a lot of potential clients. That is important. You have to be visible. Even if it's only on LinkedIn, you have to be visible there. If you're not visible, for example, on Instagram or TikTok, doesn't matter because you're B2B focused, right? But for a B2B focused company, you need to have a presence on LinkedIn and show what you do. Be proud of what you do. Share what you do. And that's where most people didn't do back then. They were like, "Oh, why should I post something on LinkedIn when there's a new product launch or something like that?" Because it's your product. You're the specialist in X-ray, for example. Show it. Be proud of it. It's a big achievement that you did. And then they started doing it, and then you see the results coming in, more views, more interaction, people that are contacting them because they saw them on LinkedIn. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
You saw a big difference when you started doing this at Canon. You actually noticed the difference.
Yeah, definitely. They noticed a huge difference, and that was back in like 2015, 16, 17. So that was quite some time ago. And even then, at the very beginning, you could see that LinkedIn was really improving, and people could really leverage it for their own use, for their own benefit.
And I'm glad you convinced the company to do it. So Canon, I guess, I always thought of as B2C, but I guess the medical branch must be more B2B.
Yeah.
What are the opportunities, do you think, for brands that are very B2B? Where, I guess a lot of the listeners and the viewers here of this podcast are in industries like law, consulting, even doctors or accountants. Yeah. What do you see as being the really big opportunities and benefits there for employers like that?
The big benefits is basically the thing with LinkedIn and creating brand ambassadors is it resonates over all sectors, right? So it doesn't matter if you're in the medical or if you're a lawyer or something doing something legal or in finance, it always will resonate because you will become more visible, and that's the main thing. There are a few metrics that you can use to define success with the LinkedIn workshops. For some, it's for most of them, it's generating leads. How many leads can you generate from being more present on LinkedIn? How many conversations can you strike? How many more people can you engage with while you're doing this, while you're building your own profile and becoming a brand ambassador? But the other thing is, people also just want more visibility, to be seen, because not everybody is a salesperson, not everybody is an account manager. But for example, a lawyer would benefit a lot from the fact that others know what they are doing, how they're doing it, what kind of struggles do they have, what kind of wins are they achieving, where are they focusing on. Because another very strong aspect of LinkedIn is connecting with the right people. So you have your network. You can send out network requests to join your network. If you accept everybody's request that they send, or if you just send out random requests to people, that's not helping your your personal brand or your brand ambassadorship as well, right?
Yeah, of course.
You have to focus on the people you really want that you want to have in your network that can see what you're doing. Yeah. There could be potential clients, could be influencers in the same sector, and that resonates over all sectors basically. So that's quite important.
That's a quite interesting point, actually, because I've always thought about it in terms of, for employee advocacy or for branding, in terms of the content you post and the quality of that, the messaging behind it. But actually, yeah, you're very right. It is really important, I guess,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make sure that you're, as a company, you're connecting with the right people, but you also, your employees are as well. And
yeah,
obviously, important for the employees themselves.
yeah, yeah. Because you want the right people to see what you're posting, right?
Absolutely.
And obviously you have friends, families, old colleagues in there as well, and they will always support you. So they will always like, they will always comment, which is good for visibility. But the people that you actually want for you to be noticed is the people that aren't really connecting with you at the moment, right? And you want to connect with them, you want to grow the relationship with them, and then eventually interact with them. And that's also part of that ambassadorship.
So let's talk in practical terms then. How do you help professionals to build a strong personal brand that aligns with their employers' values?
Well, I can't give you my whole workshop playbook, of course, Chris. But well, how do I help? I can summarize it. Like, what I help with is a few things. First of all, is your profile. Your profile needs to be a landing page. It has to be when someone visits you, they have to know what you stand for, what is the added value that you're giving to them, and some sort of authority testimonials, like somewhere that you've worked before, somewhere that you've done before, something that says that what you're actually doing is proven by a testimonial or recommendation, or like a little text in your banner, something that enforces that. So that's the first start. That's where you begin, right? Secondly, is what I just told you, connecting with the right people. You have to connect with the right people, because when you start posting, when you start creating content for your LinkedIn, side by side, you have to also expand your network with the right people. And with the right people, I mean the people that are important to you. Could be potential prospects, could be influencers in the same space, could be anybody basically. Thirdly, your content. It has to resonate. And as you know, as a lot of people know, the LinkedIn algorithm keeps on changing. It keeps on changing. You have to keep testing what works and what does not work. Sometimes pictures work really well. Sometimes videos really work well. But sometimes even a simple text posting just does the trick, right? And it depends on what you write as well. Think about whenever you're on LinkedIn, you're scrolling through your feed, and a lot of people post a lot of things. What is the one posting in which you click on read more that you're actually interested in? So why did you click on read more? Is it because of the hook, or is it because of the picture? And when you start thinking like that, you start thinking about your own postings as well. Like, because if your first sentence is a hook that actually wants you to read more, yeah, you're doing a good job. But if it isn't actually a hook, if it isn't a question that sparks conversation, it isn't a question that sparks interest, people will most likely just scroll away. And
Yeah.
Also, the like the picture or the video that you have put on with it, is it interesting enough? Like, for example, if I put a picture of myself wearing a duck costume, that would be super interesting, right? Like, why is he wearing that? Should it be on LinkedIn? That's something else, but it's still something to start a conversation. So if when people start thinking like that, that helps them with their own postings as well.
I guess one thing that comes out of that is how do people, in your experience, how well easy is it for employers to communicate their values to their employees, and so that their employees can then follow through and actually post the right messages?
It's really valuable. I've seen people that do amazing stuff within that company. For example, launching new products, launching crazy crazy propositions that will turn basically the whole course of the company. But nobody knows that they were involved in it, you know.
Mm.
But the minute people see that they actually did something like that, so something for the brand, put out a new proposition or something, and you put it on LinkedIn, people will thank you for it. They will be like, "Oh my God, you did that! That's so good! That's so cool!" You know, can we connect with what this new product is about? Can we connect about that? And then you're not only just building your own personal spotlight on LinkedIn, but also the brand is getting to know better, right? Because maybe you're working for a company from which people don't even know what they're doing. So the
Yeah.
minute you post something that actually also explains what you did for them, but also explains what the brand normally does, well, that's a win-win, right? Because there are a lot of big companies that have names that do not resonate with what they're actually doing. An example is Cargill. Cargill is has nothing to do with cars.
Mm.
Has nothing. It's all about food. It's they're in the food processing, you know. So you would not know that with only the name. So if you're working for Cargill and you're putting yourself out there, you would know that, oh wow, you do that. That's cool. That's awesome, and it helps both. Again, the person and the company.
So how does a company clearly communicate to their employees what they should and shouldn't be posting, and I guess as an extension of that, what the actual brand values are of the company?
Well, the thing is, every company has their own brand book guidelines. That helps. That helps a lot. Uh, but I remember back in the day, there were not really like LinkedIn guidelines for what can you post, what can you not post. But basically, it's always about uh, what you can post is it has to resonate with the brand. You can have a personal touch to it because that is something that makes it more stronger, that makes it more believable, makes it more interesting for other people as well. But it needs to be connected with the brand and their values as well. So usually you have like a checklist or something like that. Like, does it check all the boxes? Yes, post it, no worries, and be very careful for corporates where they are really mindful about is using, for example, the brand colors or their slogans, things like that. Be mindful about that because sometimes they don't like that when you do that because it's still your personal profile, you know. So they would rather have something like, okay, don't do that, but just tag us. That's way better, you know. But don't use, for example, that is specific color of red or specific color of blue. But just be yourself.
So what I'm hearing from you is really, as a company, you need to communicate very clearly to your employees
Yes.
the do's and don'ts, and
Yeah.
your actual, obviously, your brand toolkit, your brand
Exactly.
messaging, and provide clear guidelines to them, which probably not a lot of companies do. What kind of posts should then professionals avoid doing?
What kind of renting? Don't rant
Okay.
about anything. Just whether it's well, don't rant about your current employer. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
it's a good idea.
But well, that's an obvious one. But just don't rant in general as well. For example, I'm from the Netherlands. We like to rant. We like to rant. We like to rant about everything, whether it be like a tree that has fallen down on the street, or ranting about a bank that's not doing what they should be doing, or another service provider that should not be doing something. The Dutch are really good at ranting, and I always say avoid that because LinkedIn is a professional platform, right? If you want to rant, use X, use Facebook, use Instagram,
Yeah.
but use LinkedIn really as your own professional uh, platform where you build your brand. If you're going to start ranting about another company, or even worse, ranting about a competitor that you're working for, that's just a huge rant.
Not a good look.
It's not a good look. It really isn't a good look, and then also not for the company that you're working for, right? Because they will make that connection very very easily. Yeah, and be mindful of what you post. Also, be mindful of what you post on other platforms as well, as that can be taken out of context and can be maybe used in a bad way. Great example is, for example, the CEO and the CHRO that were in the Coldplay concert, very intimately being filmed, but it got, yeah, you know what happened.
Out of hand, yes.
It blew up. It came on LinkedIn. People were looking them up actually on LinkedIn, who they are and everything, this and that. That was not a good show, but that's a very rare thing, right? It doesn't happen
Yeah.
all the time. But it is a great example of how you should avoid being negatively on a public platform like LinkedIn. You know, and that's something, yeah, well, that was just a very rare case, but a very good example to use in my workshops as well, you know. So yeah, be mindful of what you post.
So what are a couple of tactics, without giving the game away, what are a couple of tactics you teach in your workshops that you find have the most immediate effect on helping people to show up on LinkedIn better?
Yeah, that's a very good question because there's one tactic that works 99% of the time. I gotta share that. Uh,
Mhm.
as I already told you, you have to expand your network with the right people, right? But you don't just expand your network. Once you have those right people in your network and they post a lot, for example, like once a week, a few times a week, even once a month, whenever they post something and you know that they have a big following where a lot of people comment, a lot of people like, be one of the first ones to put a comment on their posting.
Right.
If you put a comment in there, which actually touches base on what they're posting, but you're also like in a way packaging your own service or your own added value in that comment as well. Be smart about that. And, there's some tricks on to doing that. And you're one of the first to post. A comment get even more impressions than your own posting. I have a good example of something that I post. I commented on a big influencer here in the UAE as one of the first, and I got 100,000 impressions only on that comment.
Wow.
Whereas if I look at my own postings, average, I go maybe on 10,000 impressions. But I got 10 times more just by a comment that I did on someone that has a huge following on LinkedIn. Commenting is very important. It's a tactic that you should definitely use. Be it, do it once a day, do it 10 times a day, but do it.
And that comment that you made, was it an insightful comment or was it, just a congratulations comment?
Be also in that, be very careful what you comment. That's a very good question because don't just comment, oh, congratulations. Wow, that's a really nice posting. No, you have to comment about the topic that they're actually posted. If somebody posts about, I just sealed a deal with a big real estate firm, that's just an example, and you say, oh, wow, congratulations. Yeah, that's not going to resonate. But if you put
Mm.
something in there that, wow, that's a really interesting way of how you approach that, how you approach that deal and how you started out and how long the sales cycle has been for you, that really teaches people that patience is key, right? And that's the same thing that I do for my own services as well, where I teach people how to be patient with their own LinkedIn profile and it takes time to build up a real good following. In this way, what did I do? I congratulated them. I supported them, saying that's a very great way of dealing with it. But I also put in my own service that I do the same thing, and it can always go better. It just takes time, right? And comment like that, that is seen by a lot of people, liked by a lot of people, and it helps with your profile views as well, with engagement to your own postings, to your profile. So the commenting strategy is something that I will definitely recommend to anybody.
That is, a really good tip. Thank you for that, Shayan.
Sure. Also,
It's something that I think a lot of us don't focus on enough.
agreed.
Can you, when you're making these comments, should you try and engage in a conversation? As in, you might say congratulations on that real estate deal. Maybe say, I think this will be great for the Dubai real estate market or whatever, and then ask them a question. Is that good practice?
You can always do that.
Back and forth, or is that bit
You-
silly?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. But in my own experience, I've noticed whenever you ask a question to continue the conversation, they don't always respond to that. Maybe once, but they will not keep responding on your
Yeah.
comments. It's not going to be a threat. So you can definitely do it. It's always good to do because then you are indeed pushing the conversation, which is very good. But yeah, you're not always going to be successful in having a complete conversation.
So, could you walk us through an example of personal branding on LinkedIn that really worked?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of my first clients actually, back in the Netherlands. This person is what he does is he makes sure that bigger companies that use, for example, the cloud, Azure, Amazon, AWS, uh, they pay a lot of money for these cloud services, right? And they pay a lot of money for licensing, those kind of things. But a lot of times they're also paying for things that they don't even use. So this
Mm.
client of mine, he focuses on helping those companies with their expenses, cloud expenses. So he makes sure that they're only using the tools that they need, those kind of things. And it's a very niche focused customers that he actually looks for. He was one of my first customers, and it was very, for me back then, it was quite complex uh, thing that he was doing because I'm not into it. I was like, okay, wow, cloud expenditure savings, okay, interesting. AWS, Azure, okay, let me dive into it. And the thing is, he's a very charismatic person, from real life, but it didn't show on LinkedIn how he actually is. And that was something that I really focused on. I want you, who you are, to be also on LinkedIn because people need to know who you are, and they will only do business with you when they actually know who you are. And I know the person that you actually are, and I know that I would love to do business with you if I knew what kind of people, what kind of person you are. So we should start focusing on that, more on the soft side, more on the people side, on how he is. He's a very friendly guy, very down to earth. He is a very social person. He loves to connect. He loves to, and we focused on postings on how he made connections, how uh, he came from basically nowhere and is now where he is right now at the moment. His career growth, even his education, where he started from and where he ended up. All those kind of little things we focused on that, and you saw that while we were doing that and connecting with his potential clients and with his prospects, with his ideal customers, his profile was growing. It was growing. More people were engaging with his profile, more profile views. It His profile views became crazy, where he only started out with 2 to 3 people visiting his profile in a week. It went to like almost 200, 300 people that visited his profile on a weekly basis, and only because he was being himself, but on
Mm.
LinkedIn. you know, so that's that's crazy, and but yeah, that really worked out. But in all honesty, those kind of metrics that we achieved with him, I did not achieve with anyone else later on. That was a really rare case, but it was a very good example of the potential of personal branding.
So, what about that's one that did work? What about one that didn't?
One
Doesn't have
that
to be from something you've done, obviously. But
I, you know,
what's one you've seen that did?
yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. People don't talk about what didn't work. But it's a very
Yeah.
good question that you asked. There's one person that it really didn't work for, but I'm not saying it's their fault. But they also didn't want, like, for example, if you want build a personal brand, people need to see you. People need to know who you are, right? And as in seeing, I mean your face. This person, they didn't want their picture to be used in postings. That made it really difficult to
Mm.
build a personal brand because they were shy. they're really shy, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know if I should." They're like, "I know I have to do something with LinkedIn, but I really don't want to show myself. I don't really want to." And we tried. We really tried for a few months with like AI pictures, pictures of their office, pictures of the things they do. You know, but yeah, it didn't work out that well. His profile does look better, and the content is there, but it didn't resonate as well because the one important thing I've learned in this whole process is people like to see people that are actually seen. So people that you can actually see, and if that's not the case, it's gonna be a very hard sell, you know. And yeah, that didn't work out, honestly.
Yeah, I guess the clue is in the name. There's that person in personal branding, and I can imagine. Yeah, you've really. It's funny because I went to a personal branding workshop early in my
Yeah,
career as when I started CJA consulting, and it was a bit of an eye opener because I thought I know about branding.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
do marketing. I've done it for 15, 16 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But then it was just like, an eye opener because I was like, actually, people aren't really buying CJA consulting. They're buying Chris Adams.
yeah, yeah,
And I need to be out there. I need to be talky and
exactly.
be trustworthy and be authentic.
Yeah,
I think authentic is probably the word
yeah,
you were sort of alluding to.
definitely,
Um,
definitely.
in your workshops, you've mentioned people like Mariam Telamasani and Akil Anamolu. What have they done to stand out as LinkedIn voices?
Well, the thing is, what's different about them, especially in this region, or in the Gulf region, they have high positions. They're like senior VPs. They work for big companies, for example, Etihad and Saudi Airlines, for example. And the thing is, when you come into that position, often what happens is people start to dismiss LinkedIn. They're like, I'm already there. It's okay. I don't have to put something on LinkedIn. You know, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. But that's where the crux is. You know, you have to think about it. Once you are in that position, you become an example. People want to see you. And that's what they did very well. They not don't post on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. No, they post like on a monthly basis. But what they post has added value. And it shows people that where they're coming from now, where they are at now, their personal stories, how they're build their career up from scratch. Basically, it's inspiring. And once you are in a senior VP or in a director's position, CEO position of a big corporate, people like to hear that. People like to see that. You know, where did you come from? Because that's inspiring, and people are looking for examples to strive to. You know, and they want to be like that. They want to do those things, and that's why Mariam and Achille are good examples of people like that have built their personal brand, that have succeeded in their career, and are still present on LinkedIn, showing what they are doing and showing what they can. And that's amazing. And that's how it should be.
So I guess they're showing you that they're real people, people
Yeah,
like you and I, and people you can aspire to be like.
exactly. Exactly. Because if you think of Saudi Airlines, you don't you don't easily put a face to it, right? But
No.
once you're connected with her and you see her postings, you see everything, you're like, okay, so Mariam can be connected with Saudi Airlines. You know, same with Achille. Achille can be connected to Etihad, and that helps. That works. And you need to have a face for every brand, even though the brand is maybe huge, but having a face to it is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's quite a poignant or an interesting point because a lot of large organizations, corporates, spend a lot of time, money, and effort on communications,
Yeah,
PR,
yeah,
and with LinkedIn, you can go straight to the audience without any intermediaries, without having to go through the media and hope for they get
exactly.
published, without having to hope someone goes to your website. It's right in front of people. So,
Yeah,
I'm thinking that LinkedIn is a severely underutilized tool, especially
it is.
for corporates.
Yeah, definitely for corporates because if you would look at uh, like everybody has put in if they're working for Etihad, for example, I work for Etihad, but if you deep diver, do a deep dive and you see what they're actually posting on their profiles. They only post when they're looking for a job. They only post
Yeah.
when they get promoted, or they only post when they have a new job somewhere else. But that's it. That's a pity.
I do think that employers now need to make it easier for their employees, though. I am obviously I'm self-employed now, and I've been much more engaged. But as an employee, it was always very difficult to find content to reshare or say something insightful if information hasn't been shared with me. If I have to go out and look for it, so I think that is really something corporates should do better.
Definitely. It will only add value to your business, but also to the employees.
So you mentioned before that the example of the gentleman who was one of your earlier clients and had a lot of success, and that he was having just a handful of people visiting his profile, and then all of a sudden it goes up to 100, 200.
Yeah.
What kind of metrics should we be looking at? Is it impressions, clicks, or other KPIs that matter?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because the most important thing that people immediately look at is, for example, how many followers do I have? How many impressions am I getting on the posting? But that's not the correct way to look at it, to be honest, because you can have maybe 500 followers, but if those 500 followers are all potential clients, you're already doing a very good job, right?
Yeah.
You may have 500 views on your profile, but if those 500 views are potential clients, then perfect. The metrics that people look at is usually not the correct way. What you should be looking at is the engagement that you're getting from your postings. And with engagement, I mean, how many profile views are you getting? How many people are actually clicking through on the link that you put on your posting? How many people are actually commenting? How many people are actually engaging with you in your DMs, after the posting that you created? That's what you should be looking at, because it's all about engagement. Engagement is what will get you qualified calls, will get you to talk with potential prospects. It's what's going to get you to talk to potential partnerships, collaborations. And that's what focus should be. Not the amount of impressions, not the amount of followers that you have. No. I always tell also my clients when I have my strategic marketing cap on, focus on 20, 30 people that you actually want as a client. Put your complete focus on that. And all the others, they can be done simultaneously, but put your complete focus on those people, because those people are the ones that you actually want as a client. Same goes for LinkedIn. Focus on the people that you actually want as a client, and even if that's 5, but if all those 5 become a customer of yours, isn't that the most important thing?
Yeah, that's a good success rate.
Right. So the metrics that you should be looking for is actually engagement. Engagement is very important.
So for engagement, one thing you mentioned was a click-through rate for a link you might share on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn's quite finicky. I find it to be very finicky because I like your advice. I'm sure a lot of our audience are thinking the same thing. If you put a URL in your main post, LinkedIn will anonymize it, it'll shorten it. And I've had advice that's discouraged putting links at all in the body of a post, and say put it in the comment below. But I've had experience where you've put a link in the comment and that link has just disappeared into the ether.
Yeah.
So what is best practice, and what is LinkedIn just constantly changing these things? Obviously, that goes back to measurement as well. That was I guess the second bit of it is, once you've worked out how to actually share the link, how do you then measure the click-through rate?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, because I've always been in the marketing space, what I do is we're going a little bit in the technical spectrum now. But what I do is I always use UTM codes on any link. With UTM codes, I can then connect with my Google Analytics and see where they're actually coming from. With those UTM codes, if you put that in your link and then just put it in the body, you can easily measure who came from your LinkedIn post immediately.
Okay.
So that's one way of doing it. If you don't know what UTM codes are, just Google it. Very easy. You just have to put a little bit of a code after the URL, and that's it. That's one way in measuring on where actually people are coming from. But also a second thing is, you're absolutely right. Whenever you put a link in the comment, it usually disappears. Because if you have, for example, a posting which resonates so well that you have 12 comments on it, and you also put a comment of yourself in it with a link in it, it will disappear. But if you don't have that great of a posting, but you do have a comment and only one comment as yours with the link, then people will see that easily. But you don't know when a posting is going to go very well, where you're going to get a lot comments or not a lot of comments. So it's always like a struggle, right? So that's why I always advise you, if you're going to put in a link, put it in your body, because then people can immediately look at it, can immediately book an appointment with you, can see your website. It's easier, but don't use a link for all your postings. Interchange. Sometimes do put a link, sometimes don't put a link. Same with hashtags. Sometimes do use them, sometimes don't use them. For example, if you're in a big conference like GitX or anything, and you've been there, you want to do a posting about that, put in the hashtag, because they're also using that hashtag. But otherwise, no need.
Okay. So LinkedIn doesn't necessarily, if you do put a URL in the body, they won't necessarily deprioritize your post.
Not in my experience, no, no, not in my experience. Thankfully.
Interesting. I mean, that's the advice I've had in the past is LinkedIn will deprioritize, because LinkedIn does not, and it seems to be the most guilty platform for this. And from what I've seen, it does really, really want to keep you on its platform or not send you anywhere else.
That's true, but that's basically with every platform, right? They want you to stay there, But I've seen in the last few years that LinkedIn has made an effort in putting in more external links as well. For example, you can now put in your profile also like a button, book an appointment now, or visit my website, those kind of things that actually pushes people away from LinkedIn. So they're listening to their customers. Let me put it that way. They're listening to their customers and making it more accessible to have more public links on their profiles on LinkedIn as well.
No, yeah, I have seen that, and you're right. So yeah, perhaps they don't want to see it in the post as much, but they do allow it in your profile.
Exactly.
So that's a good point.
Yeah.
So if a company wants to start today and work with employee advocacy, what's the first thing they should do?
First thing they should do is basically hire me. I will give a great workshop. No, what they should do is first of all, but honestly, a workshop works wonders. So if they do want to start today, they do want to make their employees into brand ambassadors. Organize a workshop, and in that workshop, what is explained is, for example, the importance of brand ambassadorship, the importance of building personal brands, because a corporate entity or whatever does not always have like LinkedIn specialists there, they have the time to do a workshop, right? So look externally, who can help you with that? Who can help make all your employees into brand ambassadors? That's the most important thing. But actually, I forget one step. Realizing that your employees should be brand ambassadors is the first step. So once they have that realization, then you can start. But realizing the importance of it and realizing that their employees should be brand ambassadors is the key. That should be done first. So that realization has to come. The realization can only come when you're out in the field, you're talking to people, you're networking with people, and that's the only way the realization is going to come. But unfortunately, we cannot steer in that. We cannot make sure that every company knows, like, oh yeah, we should do something with LinkedIn for our employees. But once they have realized it and they are ready, just look for people that can do a workshop for you, that can organize something for your employees, like myself, and carry on from there.
Shayan, I think you need to do some LinkedIn posts making companies realize they need this.
Yeah. Maybe we should.
Okay, so how can people book your workshop?
Very easily. Like we just discussed, I also have a book an appointment button on my LinkedIn profile. Just go to my LinkedIn profile, book an appointment, and we'll have a conversation about what it is you're looking for. What do you actually want to achieve from it? And then I explain how I work, and every workshop that I do I tailor it according to the company's needs. So it's not a one size fits all. No, it's always tailored to the company's needs, what they want, and based on that, I give the workshops. And it's very easy to book an appointment with me, or they can just email me as well, or call me wherever. I'm available everywhere. Chris. So just shout me wherever, and people can easily book a call with me.
So we'll put the link to your LinkedIn and your website in the comments section, or in the comment section, of this episode. So
Perfect.
Everyone could find that there. One final question on that: in the workshops, is a workshop for employers or employees, or is it for both?
It really depends. I've had LinkedIn workshops, for example, for directors as well. Directors that really want to leverage their own LinkedIn profile, so that do realize that it is important to be visible on LinkedIn. But I've also done workshops for salespeople's account managers, for example, that are out there in the field. So it's again not one size fits all. It can be for anybody. It can also be for a marketing department, where the marketing department that is working really hard on a lot of campaigns, but don't have the tools yet how to portray that on LinkedIn, how to put on posting on LinkedIn. That's where I come in, where I help them as well. So it's very broad. It can be for any sort of team, basically.
Fantastic. Okay, so like I said, we'll put the link to Shayan's profile in the details in the notes section of the podcast, which you can find on all your favorite channels: YouTube, Acast, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you want to go, Apple Podcasts. So the final thing left is to say thank you to Shayan Khan for joining us today. Thank you, Shayan.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me.
I've learned a lot and got some really good tips that I'm going to actually look back at the notes of this straight away.
Perfect.
and put into action. So that's an action point for me and for everyone who's listening. For all our listeners, that's it for this episode of Muhami Matters. Again, thank you to Shayan for joining us. If you are wondering how to help your people to post better, or whether it's even worth it, this episode is your starting point, but there's a lot to do. So contact Shayan and get something booked in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with your network. For more insights and support, visit muhami.ae or connect with me at CJA Consulting. I'm Chris Adams. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered. Thank you for joining us on Muhami Matters. If you found today's episode valuable, subscribe and connect with me to stay updated. Join me again soon as we continue to bring you credible insights, practical strategies, and trusted advice to empower your professional journey. I'm Chris Adams. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered.